Good morning, you guys. I just want to show you this small garden that's been planted over the last few years since we moved in. There really wasn't anything here aside from like a few perennials. I think there was one or two peonies, and I've dug, divided, and moved things around. Formal garden's way back there. This bed sits along the driveway. It actually belongs to my neighbor, but she graciously has allowed me to plant it up. And I want to show you what's blooming here today because one of my favorite combinations, now all-time favorites, is nepeta and peonies. Isn't that so pretty? So you ready to get your bloom on? Let's go. So this garden is a little tough to keep planted because trucks come in and they drive in the garden. Makes it a little difficult to keep it planted because they drive right over my plants. So I do try to keep things somewhat sparse along the edge of the driveway. But I dug and divided these nepeta plants from another garden and they've just done really well. And I love the contrast of the purple with that bright fuchsia peony. Now, I don't know what variety it is offhand because I didn't plant it, but we do have some Sarah Bernhardts in here. And I planted a few others over the last few years. Gosh, I wish the names were on the tip of my tongue, but they are not. And I want to talk a little bit about staking your peonies. This one I planted last year, so I didn't think it was going to get that tall and big, and it bloomed, and the bloom started falling over. So one of the ways that I help keep my peonies up after the fact, after they bloom, is with these half moon stakes, because you can just kind of pick them up and lay them right on there. Now you could also use garden stakes with some twine, but I kind of find that the half moon stakes work a little bit better. But one of the ways that I like to keep my peony flowers upright is very early on in the season, as soon as they break ground, as soon as you see that, the foliage emerge from the ground, I use these round support stakes, and it just makes it so much easier. We've had a lot of rain here, and that's why they're like leaning over. But really, they're pretty upright considering the amount of rain we just had. I personally like the grow through grid supports because the blooms grow right through them. They're easier to use than like the double tier supports. They're kind of a pain to work with. So if you see those, avoid those. I don't like working with them at all, but I love the grow through supports. They work really well. They work on more than just peonies. I use them all the time. And as a matter of fact, since I have so many peonies now, I actually just keep them out all year round and then I don't have to deal with them later. Yes, they're there kind of standing up when there's nothing there, but you know what? I don't really care. You don't even really notice them anyway. They're green and it's fine. It makes life easier for me since I have so many plants to deal with here. But if you don't, I would take them down at the end of the season, store them away, and then bring them out again as your peonies start to break ground. Another great companion plant for peonies is coneflowers. I've got purple coneflowers here. They were here when we first moved in. I dug, divided them, and moved them over to this side of the peonies, and I'm noticing some deer damage. I've got to spray these. You might hear from some gardeners that coneflowers are deer resistant. I have not found them to be. I have found deer eating the foliage very early on in the season. We get herds of deer here. They hang out in the formal garden and they kind of walk through this way, so they've definitely done some damage already. I'm usually pretty vigilant about getting out here and spraying, but I actually missed this garden, so my bad. I've actually been a lot better on this side of the garden where I've got my limelight hydrangeas. I spray these from the moment they start to leaf out. One of the reasons that I love nepeta with peonies is not just the color and the texture that it adds, but it's long blooming. So when those peony flowers stop blooming, this looks good against the greenery of the peonies. And then when those are done, my coneflowers will begin. I might add some black-eyed Susans to this bed because I have so many and I should dig and divide them, and that would really kind of add some summer color here. But look at how gorgeous and upright these are because I have them supported. I mean, really, it's so important to add those supports. They really do make a huge, huge difference. I'm tagging them here in this video, so in case you missed out on doing it with your peonies this year, you can prepare for next year. And just to give you a little context of drooping peony flowers that like land on the ground, if this were bigger and I had a lot more blooms, those would literally be laying on the ground. Whereas the ones that I supported, even though they're leaning over after the rain, they're still pretty upright. Coneflowers are another great companion plant for peonies because they bloom after they're done. You get that color in the summer. They look great with nepeta too. Both of these perennial plants are super easy to grow and attract lots of pollinators. Also in this garden, hellebores. Love hellebores. They're one of the first perennials to bloom late winter, early spring. Crazy easy to grow. I'm gonna tell you that we had deer damage on this one. You can't tell right now, although maybe you can see some of the damage there right now, but I was kind of surprised. I've always said that deer have completely left them alone, but I gotta tell you, this year they ate some of it. Whether they got sick after, I don't know, but moving forward, I will also be spraying repellent on my hellebores. But look at what a pretty combination that is. I mean, the hellebores with the peonies, and then you've got the nepeta. I love that combination, don't you? It's gorgeous, so pretty, easy to grow. And then just beyond here, we've got some bearded irises that wrapped up their flowering. They're actually white blooms. I probably have some footage of it from a prior tour. I'll add it in here just in case I didn't show you guys. But then I just also added cleome. They'll get tall and white and they're deer resistant, so that'll be really nice over here when these peony flowers are done. I also tucked in bidens, not blooming yet, but I grew it last year, totally deer resistant. They left it alone, never touched it. So I decided to plant some again. It gets these little pretty yellow flowers. And this one is bidens too. It's a new variety that I've not grown before. So I just decided to tuck it in here to see how it would do. Look at the foliage on that one versus the other bidens, right? It's got those pretty little flowers. And then on this side of the bed, I had dug and divided some nepeta and put them in between my limelights. It just adds a little bit of interest instead of just having a bunch of mulch there. Really, really pretty. Love the entrance to the driveway and my home. Even though it's a smaller garden, here, my peony border, really beautiful and really brings you right in to my driveway. You could see the garden up there that has been a work in progress. It's got some flowers, so we've got a lot of layers happening here as you enter the driveway to my home. I love it. I love how this garden is coming along. It's gonna take some time. I'm still kind of feeling it out. There are so many beds here that I've been working on and trying to put my stamp on that it's just taking a little bit of time. But I love the play on the pinks and the whites, and I love it with the nepeta. And as this bed grows and blooms, I'll show you a little bit more as the season progresses. But that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for joining me in the peony garden. I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy a beautiful day.